Well, after a little bit of misdirection getting off the ship, my fault, we'll tell you a little bit more about it later. We've arrived at the beginning of our first destination. So, where in the world are we?
We are in Barcelona, Spain today, and we have chosen, we're kind of limited on time, so we've chosen to do the hop on, hop off today. We booked our tickets online this morning, so we were able to get 10% off, so just under 30 euros a piece. And if you did the whole entire route just staying on the bus, it would be about 2.5 hours. We have our map here. Looks like, I don't know how many stops. A lot of stops.
There's two different routes. There's an orange route and a green route, and there's, I think, about 17 stops or so on each route. Takes you all over the city. We're not really sure where yet. We didn't do a ton of research before we got here. We just figured we'd get on the bus, and when we stopped at someplace interesting, we'll get off and we'll show you a little bit more about it. So we'll see you at our first stop we decided to get off at. All right, we got off at our first stop. Forgot to mention earlier that where we got on was stop number 5 of the orange route, which is the World Trade Center. There was a number of stops in between when we got off here at stop number 12, but we passed by the Olympic Stadium. There was a botanical garden, there was a palace, there was a museum, there's a couple other things. All looked very interesting, but like we said, we have very limited time, so we're just getting off at a few stops, places that look a little bit more interesting. So where are we at right now?
So we are at Plaza de España, and this actually was built for the 1929 World's Fair, and it was built inspired by Piazza San Marco in Venice. And if we do a quick loop around, it definitely it has the feel of Piazza San Marco for sure. So behind us is a bullfighting arena. Sorry, I'm like, behind us is a bullfighting arena, which is now a shopping mall. So we're going to see how we can figure out how to get through this traffic circle behind us and find our way to the bullfighting traffic mall.
So we walked over here, and it definitely is a shopping mall. Did a quick bit of research because we had a few minutes until they opened up. It was a bullfighting arena that was built in the early 1900s and was converted into this commercial shopping center in 2011. And it looks like they're opening up the gates right behind us, so we're going to head inside and see what they have. We came down here to the underground level because Felicia was looking for the bathroom. I think that's probably what we spend half our time on vacation doing, is looking for a place for her to go to the bathroom. But appropriately, at the underground level here, they have a Subway restaurant. All right, we traveled quite a few more stops. I think we just got off on stop number
18, I think. Yeah.
18. The stops prior to this didn't really interest us. We went by the stadium for the Barcelona Football Club, drove down the Diagonal Avenue quite a ways, which is just home to a lot of shops and things like that, expensive apartments. And now we're in an area of the city where it looks like there's a lot more to do, so we got off on this stop. We're going to transfer here shortly to another line, but behind us is a famous building called La Padrilla, and it was the last building that the famous architect Gaudi designed here in Barcelona. Don't know much more about other than it was built as a private residence. There is a museum inside. I believe it's about 25 euros to get in, and you can go up to the top floor where there's some famous statues, or excuse me, famous chimneys that look like
Right.
statues. All right, we just walked about a third of a mile down to the next hop on, hop off stop. Didn't really feel it necessary to wait for another bus just to come to a third of a mile. This is another famous Gaudi design building behind us. It's the Casa Botlo. Don't really know anything about it other than that, and we're just going to keep walking a little bit further down the street. We decided to walk down one more stop, about another third of a mile, maybe a little bit further. Passed by a Lego store that we of course had to stop in.
Of course.
Didn't buy anything.
No, but they have some really cool builds of like landscape and landmarks in Barcelona.
And now we're in the Plaza de Catalonia, and we're just looking to get on the other green line for the hop on, hop off, and we're going to head up to the Sagrada Familia, which is the very famous cathedral. Also, I believe designed by Gaudi. We'll find that out on the way and tell you more about it once we get there. Well, we've arrived at our final destination of the day, given the amount of time that we have left. We'll likely go shopping and get something to eat here shortly, but this is our final tourist destination of the day. What you see behind us is Sagrada Familia. It has a longer official name, but that's what everybody knows it at. It's a Catholic cathedral. The Sagrada family started building it in 1882. Soon after, in 1883, the famous architect Gaudi was hired by the family, and he continued working on it, designing it until his death in the year 1926. After that, for a couple of decades, not much happened to it because of the Spanish Civil War. Then construction resumed, I believe, in the 1950s or so. It was finally consecrated by the Pope in the year 2010 as a minor basilica. It's still under construction. It was only about 50% done in 2010. I'm not sure what percentage it's at right now, but it's not scheduled to be finished for another decade or more at least. Quite a long line to get in. I think you can schedule the tickets ahead of time. I believe it's about 26 euros for the cheapest one, and the tickets go on up from there depending on how much of it you want to see.
Despite the fact that it's not finished, it's actually been designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is kind of unusual because usually only ancient artifacts or finished modern artifacts are designated as those, but that's kind of a neat fun fact about this as well. And we are not going to go in it today as much as we would love to. We just really don't have the time to do that, so we definitely need to schedule another trip to Barcelona so we can do that.
Definitely.
So we just wanted to take another opportunity to show you a different angle of the cathedral. This is, I guess, the back. I don't know. I guess that other was the front,
think
right?
so.
So I think this is the back. But like, We can't even fit it in a shot. Like, this place is just so completely massive. You can't fit it in a photograph. You can't fit it in one, shot with a video camera. So it's just, we can't even express just how massive this structure is. If you ever get the opportunity to visit, absolutely do it. Like I said, we would definitely be going in, even though it's a little on the pricey side. We would definitely absolutely pay for that if we had the time to do it today.
Yeah, I'd say if I had to do today over again, maybe, find some transportation that brought us directly here, bought the tickets online ahead of time to know exactly what time you're going in, and then maybe try to explore more of the city if you had time left over after that.
For sure.
All right, in order to try to save a little bit of time, we're going to try something a little different here to try to get back. We're going to take the subway. It was
€2.80 for the two of us.
Yeah, so
just one ticket.
Yeah.
Each.
So obviously we each bought 2 tickets. It's supposedly going to get us back to where we need to be in about 13 minutes or so, rather than riding for another hour and a half on the hop-on, hop-off bus. So let's see if we can make it.
It does say that it's about 3 minutes between trains, so we'll see how accurate that is too. Fingers crossed. So we got off the subway, which was an amazing experience. We'll talk about it a little bit more a little later, but we are in the Gothic quarter of Barcelona, and we happened upon this amazing little market, sort of open air, but like inside a little structure kind of thing. So we're going to wander around and see if we can find a snack before we head back to the ship.
One single? Thank you.
Okay, so we didn't have to go very far into this little market right here to find exactly what was going to hit the spot for us. The whole front of it is all fresh fruits and juices. They're kind of like smoothies, but it's more like a juice with the pulp left in it. I got blueberry coconut, so I'm going to try it for the first time right now. Let's see how it is. That was really outstanding. Like, it's a lot of coconut, but it's got a nice blueberry tinge to it, kind of. It's delicious.
Felicia, Felicia. Gracias. Okay. So I mentioned at the beginning of this video that there was a little mishap in us getting off of the ship. That was my fault and trying to get
off the pier.
Off the pier, yeah.
The pier, yeah.
So what happened was we decided to walk off the pier. There's several different ways you can get off the pier. You can walk always, of course. There was a taxi stand that was nearby, and it had prices listed to different areas of the city, so you know you're not getting ripped off if you know how much you should be spending. There's also a cruise bus that we didn't really see or were aware of when we first got off. I believe the cost of that is €3 one way to take you to basically the edge of the city along the port side, or €4.50 if for round trip if you're going to be going both ways. But like as I said, we decided to walk. So stupid me, I was following Google Maps, which was taking me in the right direction, but not really paying attention, like, should I stay to the left or should I stay to the right? Now, they have painted onto the ground a big red box with an arrow telling you which way to go to get to the city center. And, you know, for those modern people that are on our cell phones all the time and looking down, it was right there, but I was looking at my cell phone and not actually at the arrow. So we ended up walking further down the pier, almost another half a mile. It's a pretty long pier, and realized that the bridge was going up over us and there was no way to get to us. We had to walk almost all the way back to the ship.
So it's actually, so there's a, just so you know, if you happen to be in this port, there's a traffic circle at Terminal B, and you actually have to cross that traffic circle. It'll say right on the ground, there's a big red city center this way. I saw it, but usually he knows where he's going, so I didn't question it. And so you cross that, and then you go up and around the bridge that it starts right back here, but it goes way up and around and goes over to the port side, to World Trade, actually, is where it goes. So the World Trade Center for Barcelona.
As I've said a few times throughout this video, we were kind of on a short schedule here today. We're leaving at 4 o'clock, meaning we had to be all aboard at 3:30, and it takes a while to get back to the ship, as we discussed already. So we figured we'd film the wrap up here in our stateroom aboard the ship. One of the things we wanted to talk about is different ways to get around the city. Barcelona is the second largest city in Spain. I'm not really sure what the population is, but it is a quite large city, both in population and just the area of the city. So the hop on, hop off bus tour that we did, glad we did it. We got to see some things like the bullfighting arena that got converted to a shopping mall that we probably never would have found on our own. But with such a large city and such a limited amount of time, it does take a while in traffic to get from one place to another. We did take the subway back, as we showed you a little bit, but we just want to talk a little bit more about different ways to make it around the city.
Yeah, like I would say if you are comfortable on a subway, 100% that is the way to get around. You can tap to pay, which we didn't realize till we'd already bought our tickets. I think I made an error in what I told you how much the tickets were earlier in the film. I think they were €2.40 each. So it was €4.80 for the two of them. And that was one ticket. But you can get what was like a 10 trip for $11 and something. And then there was like a week long unlimited for 20 something. So it's like, it's a very economical. The subways are like no subway I've ever seen. We lived in New York City for 4 years, and we frequented New York City a lot prior to that. These subways are clean. They're well maintained. The map is super easy to follow, I found. And it goes the entire city. Like, I don't think there's an area of Barcelona that's not covered somehow by the public transportation system. You can also get some combination tickets that include things like the boats and the buses along with the subway tickets. So there's
the standard subway ticket does cover the bus.
The
so
bus,
like that 10
covers
trips
the boat too. So like you can do, like, there are just a million ways to use that public transportation ticket or, you know, card or tap in to get around the city. Additionally, there are cabs everywhere. Now, the one thing that Barcelona is without is rideshare. And that's because their cabs have a pretty strong union, and so they have their own app, right? But you ran into a problem when you tried to use it.
Yeah, I tried to just download and register just in case we really needed to make it back to the ship at the last minute. And they want to send a text message with a code, and then you respond back to it just to make sure that it's really you. And even though the United States was an option to put my phone number in, I never actually got the text message. I did a little Google search on it, and it seems like they want you to use a Spanish telephone number. And there's a couple different apps that you can download, and they're just like a rideshare app, but they all work with the taxis. If I noticed on some of the taxis, they're actually advertising those services. So it's not like somebody in their private car taking you around, because I think they've implemented laws to stop people from
I think there are some private, like, you can hire private cars, because we did see some of that happening at the pier. But also, you don't need that app to take a cab. You can just hail a cab. You can, you know, at the pier, for example, they're just lined up waiting to take you. At World Trade, they were just lined up waiting to take you. Various parts throughout the city that we went, you could have gotten a cab, no problem at all.
Yeah, I would definitely say if you come in on a cruise ship, make your way to the World Trade Center, as we discussed, a couple different ways to get there. The nearest metro station was not that far away. You can catch buses from the area. Like I said, we like taking the subway, so even if it means walking a few extra blocks, that's usually our first choice, just because it's so fast being underground. But there are buses everywhere that'll get you even closer to your destination. But then again, you're getting stuck in traffic. This is a large city, any large city, you're going to have traffic. And it wasn't horrendous, but there were definitely, you're waiting at lights, you're waiting for people.
Yeah, there were some delays for sure. And the subway was like super timely as well. Like it told us like estimated every 3 minutes that a train comes, and like we waited, obviously one had left already, but we waited under a minute for the first train that we caught.
Right.
And it's about 2 minutes per stop, similar to any other subway system that you've ever been on. So, you can almost kind of calculate how long it's going to take you to get from point A to point B. We did do a transfer, super easy. Signs are easy to read. All the lines are colored, so all you have to do is follow the color that you need to get to next. We were a little bit iffy about which direction was which, but Jeff is pretty good at navigating and guessed correctly both times, so we were on the correct track to get in the
direction. Yeah, I have a pretty good sense of direction, so just, try to pay attention to, hey, I need to be headed to the right, and if the train is going the opposite direction, maybe you need to get to the other side of the tracks, which just involves going up some stairs and back down on the other side. And once you're on the subway, they're all modern. They have a digital display across the top, and it shows you like what station you're at, what stations you're headed to. So just make sure you know which station you want to get off. And when it stops in the station, there are signs along the wall that you can make sure, in worst case, get off, get your bearings, and if it's not the right place, just get back on the next train that's probably 3 or 4 minutes behind you. In addition to buses and subways, there's a lot of places you could rent bikes around the city. They have the little electric scooters that you can rent with the apps. Like I said, I think it's a walkable city within the areas that you're in. Like we really like that Gothic area.
Yeah, the Gothic quarter was really great, and it itself is very walkable. But we wouldn't have wanted to walk from there to, for example, where the cathedral was.
Yeah.
Like that would have been just too much walking.
Yeah, if we were going to stay here more long term, I would definitely probably use mostly the subways, combination of the buses if it was going to someplace a little bit further away. Like I said, you can get extended passes for not much money at all.
There's a funicular too, so that will take you up the mountain if that's something that you want to do.
Or walk.
Listen, no.
Now that we've talked a little bit about the transportation and how to get around the city, I think we want to talk a little bit just on our final thoughts on the city and, whether or not we'd like to come back. I know me personally, of all the stops we've been on our cruise so far, I've enjoyed all of them. There isn't one that I didn't enjoy going to. But this is probably, along with Lisbon, the only one that I would probably go out of my way to come back and spend some more time here. The other places we've been, if we ended up going there on another cruise or something, I would definitely enjoy going there. But I wouldn't go out of my way. But I'd definitely like to spend, whether it's a week, a few weeks, a month here in the future. You agree?
I actually like Barcelona better than Lisbon.
Oh, definitely. I agree.
liked Lisbon, but that's because I'd never seen Barcelona, really. So, right, if I'm going to pick between those two even, I'd like to really come back and, spend a week or two or even a month here in Barcelona and just kind of everything that the city has to offer is there for you. It's a huge city, and it just seems like it's got a great vibe. Like if you want to do it, it's happening in this city, kind of thing.
All right, and the reason we had to be back on the ship by 3:30 is because we're headed off to another port that we have to arrive at early tomorrow. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see where we're going to next. And this time we're going to be in a whole nother country.